Welcome to this special tutorial brought to you by Insider Access. We are going to talk about correlative trades, right? So this is a technical element correlating trades together, looking at similar companies within similar sectors. Now we're looking at CRM, and that's Salesforce. And I'm sure many of you, those of you who are following me on X, I believe that's the majority of people who'll be watching this video, probably saw today there were some massive trade results. This is coming from Insider Access. We had a couple, of course, congratulations. There were multiple insiders who took this trade, but just a few posted online. Of course, not everybody has to post to X. You do what you're comfortable with. But here's Caesar, 6,792% return. You could see some of his comments here. And then we also had one from Jeff. Fantastic. He bought in at $1.90, sold at $28, $570 spent to $8,400. But not only that, he was contemplating selling his longs, and he sold his long position pre-earnings. So what am I talking about correlative? How do we line this trade up? And what are the things that you should look for? So this video is going to be restricted to, and I always make sure to discuss the limitations of what you're working with, because you should never just look at something and go, okay, I see a technical pattern, take the trade. Oh, there's a level. Okay, but there's a nuclear war going on in the background. You think that might impact the markets? No, I'm going to work with my support level, right? You have to look at different factors. Of course, let's hope for no nuclear wars here. But I circulated this within Discord, looking at CRM ahead of earnings. And I compared it to Workday, and you could see that this traces along very similar. And what's critical to understand is also pairing this with the fundamental data. I know on FinTwit, on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, people love to just go with technical, because if you had to do the fundamental work, most people wouldn't be able to just post pictures of their watches and go on at length, right? It's a lot more work. But the danger is that there is something fundamental to companies, so you don't want to correlate the wrong companies just based on their charts. Well, CRM and Workday and Salesforce actually are very similar. They're facing similar challenges. So if you looked at it, you could perform some cursory evaluation on the fundamental side. That is beyond the scope of what we're going to do. So I will focus on this chart and say, with the understanding that we looked at it fundamentally, similar challenges, similar companies, operating in the same space. And there was a good expectation that if one is facing challenges, the other could, and just in terms of what their business does. But then what did the charts tell us? And this is what I circulated, as you can see from this other chart. This was what I put in. You can see Discord in the background. And I showed both of their charts separately. We also have a double top, not just this chart. But what I showed was the white line is Workday, right? And the colored lines, red and green, that's Salesforce. And so I circulated this idea saying you can see that they're tracing each other. It's the same industry, similar companies, almost running in tandem. But Workday reported first and had a massive drawdown. That sends up red flags for me. Missing earnings by a little bit, you miss revenue, you miss your earnings per share by 1 cent, you miss revenue by 0.01 billion, that sort of thing. I wouldn't look at that as being too indicative, because that can be specific to the company, their operational efficiency, a multitude of different items that are fundamental. That doesn't mean that there's a space issue. But I see that massive move down when they've been so tightly correlated, even after earnings. Look, they've had earnings before. That tells me that there is a tight correlation within the space. And so here's where we get. And my note was, for those working with Salesforce or looking to trade, we have this caution. This is what happened with Workday, right? This hadn't happened yet, because this was the chart that I've circulated through Insider Access Discord. And this is how you ended up with these massive trades that were being posted today. Well, what happened? Smashed down from 271 approximately to about 223. So now how do you pull up a chart like that? I can show you how to do it, and this will just be an added item. Not only is this lesson here you should be looking at correlative charts that can give you a little bit of help, but it shouldn't be your everything. If you tighten everything else up on the fundamental side, then you've got a much stronger idea. But let me show you how to plot this out as well. And I know how to do it on Bloomberg's terminal station, and also on TradingView. And here we are on Thinkorswim, which I use for charting purposes, and I had to look it up, but it is compare with, that's right. So you go compare with, and you type custom symbol, right? So we're on CRM, and I'm gonna add Workday. So let's add Workday in here. So now we have CRM compared to Workday, and we can go to the larger chart. You can see how it runs along. And if you don't like the purple, I'm not as crazy about the purple for this particular item, you can go here to change the colors, right? I like it better as a white line. and you can see exactly what we drew. So that initial chart that I showed you, right? This, where you only saw a Workday rundown, well, that's filled in. Now we see the same thing with CRM. So that is what you saw this morning. And then of course, saw some just otherworldly results, changing your entire account. Jeff, fantastic, 570 to 84. It's just the contract options, right? About 3 at 190, went to 28. That's a result of that massive move down. You can see it's filled in. That's how you overlay. That's how you work with correlative technical data. And as well, even though we didn't cover going into fundamentals because it's a completely beyond the scope of this, the note is also pair it with the fundamentals, pair it with a little bit more data. I know that you can't always do that. I do this for a living. So of course, I'm doing the work anyhow, so sharing it, it's fine. And I also have a team. I have people that work with me and we're passing data back and forth. You can't just be trying to correlate every other stock, but it is a helpful tool when you're evaluating, you're going into a crux period, and you're trying to make a decision. That can be helpful. So hopefully this helps you understand how you can overlay, how you can work with Thinkorswim. Like I said, I know that Bloomberg does it, and you can do that as well in TradingView. Hopefully it helps you understand how to do it, but also some of the value there, and helps explain some of the results you saw. And this is what we circulated within Insider Access ahead of the trade, ahead of earnings.